More than anything else, I just want to thank everyone for coming out on short notice, because as you all know, there was a terrible accident that happened, you know, at the intersection here at Cameron and Paxton the other night. A young woman was riding her bike, and we're not here today to talk about who is at fault in the matter, because that's not going to bring back this young woman. But hopefully, some of the safety measures that are going to be put in place over the next few years here uh, along Cameron Street will help prevent accidents like this from happening again. There's a lot of chatter on social media whenever something like this happens that the city and PennDOT aren't doing anything to make these roads safer, and that's simply not true. So we have with us today Fritzi Schreffler, who you all know from PennDOT, and Percy Bullock from the city's engineering department to discuss what safety measures are going in place beginning this summer, and some of the challenges that the city and PennDOT have in making these roads safer, given some of the infrastructural confines that are already in place. The overall point is this: the proposals that you're about to hear about today, these projects, they've been in place, these proposals, for the last couple years, and every time an accident like this happens, it is a reminder of why we're doing this, why these changes are so necessary, and why hopefully incidents like these that happened a few days ago will hopefully no longer happen again once these safety improvements are put in place. So with that, I'm going to welcome in Fritzi from PennDOT to talk about some of the changes that are going to be going in along Cameron Street starting this summer.
Hi. I don't have anything prepared. I'm just kind of informally talking about. Obviously, you all know that we have a big project coming up with 83, this phase of 83. But in order to prepare for what's going to happen on 83, we need to make Cameron Street a little bit safer, because we know that traffic's going to funnel down on here to try and avoid a lot of what's going to happen up on 83. So that is something that we've expected. We've talked to the city about. They are aware that there will be likely extra traffic coming through. So what are we doing along here? It's safety improvements focused on motorists first, but then also on anybody crossing the street, pedestrians, bicyclists. So there's going to be things like signal upgrades. We're improving the lighting along here. We're going to do a lot of patching. This is concrete, so there's going to be patching of it. It's not a total pave project. Improving sidewalks, pedestrian crossings. So for example, at Cameron and Market Street, where it wasn't the most recent fatality, but the one before that, we are going to be improving lighting in the area. We are going to make sure that the crosswalks are clearly identified, and there's going to be a longer pedestrian signal. So there is a signal there now. If pedestrians and bicyclists choose to use that, they do have something to help them cross, but this will be a dedicated longer phase for pedestrians crossing in all directions. Improving safety at Cameron and Paxton Street. Obviously, that is a very busy intersection because it's the way to get up to 83. That is going to be changing. The intersection that, the interchange at 13th Street is going to go away. That's part of the reason that we've been buying the properties in this area, is because you will actually access 83 closer to where we are right now. You will not go up Paxton Street any longer and get on at 13th Street. That is completely changing. And that is just a matter of safety and flow, and allowing Cameron Street to handle more of that traffic than Paxton Street. I'm trying to think what else. You really can't widen too much of Cameron Street, because that would involve buying a lot more property. It's adequate to be able to handle the traffic along here, but at Cameron and Paxton Street, it will be widened a little bit to allow a dedicated lane to get on and off of the interchange, so that will be helpful. There will be 8-foot sidewalks in that area as well, so that also will be helpful for anybody coming along here. There are not going to be, right along Cameron Street, dedicated bike lanes. Bikes are allowed to be in the road just like any other motorists out there. So it's, like I said, it's in advance of the 83 project. So it's things that we can do to try and improve the safety along there. And now I think we'll let Percy talk a little bit from the city's perspective.
Good morning. Project manager for the City of Harrisburg Engineering Department. As was spoken of earlier, a lot of the things that the city can and cannot do because it's primarily a state road. So if anything we're doing is we're capitalizing on the street traffic lights. That's our direction, what we do. Beyond that, the city in itself is working within all our projects, making sure we do have bike lanes within this city projects. It's called share ride bike lanes. Outside of that, when it comes to Cameron Street, as spoke of, it's a very busy drag. It's the main drag that goes in and out. One of the main drags go in and out of the city itself. And it's too difficult with the businesses and the speed of the road to put bikes on it. Although we do share, it's not advisable for bikes to be on this particular ride. But if you are on there, you're asking by motorists to be looked out for. You deserve to ride the street as well. I have really nothing else to comment on.
I think one of the things that we all agree about is everybody has a hand in safety for this, whether you're the motorist, the bicyclist, or the pedestrian. First and foremost is making sure that you're crossing at a crosswalk or somewhere that you can be seen. As a pedestrian, as a bicyclist, you need to make sure you're visible. Think about how many pedestrians and bicyclists you pass that are wearing reflective vests. Not most of us. So as a pedestrian or a bicyclist, you need to make sure that you're seen. You need to make sure that motorist sees you. As a motorist, you need to be aware that Cameron Street is very busy, that there are people walking all over the place, and you need to watch your speed. And especially as you're approaching an intersection, you need to be aware that there is a possibility that somebody could be crossing that road. And once they're in the crosswalk, yes, they do have the right of way. So we're just asking everybody to take some personal responsibility.
And I just want to add in real quick, as part of the I-83 Capital Beltway construction project, there will be dedicated bike lanes going in, and I can send you these diagrams as well. They're all available online. But at 13th Street, along Paxton Street, 17th and 19th Street, there will be new dedicated bike lanes being put into place. So this is all part of PennDOT's construction project. Fritzi and Percy both alluded to the fact that bicyclists and pedestrians deserve to be on the road just as much as drivers do. It also is incumbent upon everyone to be able to acknowledge that and respect each other on the road. I think one of the safety changes that Fritzi mentioned or Percy mentioned was extended pedestrian time within the crosswalks. It is important also at the same time to make sure that if you are riding your bike, if you are walking, to have reflective gear on, to make sure that you are making eye contact with a driver so that they can see you, because if they can see you, you can see them and vice versa. So when you are crossing the street, even if you are waiting until the green light, make sure, just to be safe, that you are going across when it is your turn. It may not be imminent that a dedicated bike lane would go in on Cameron Street. Some of the changes that are happening, brighter streetlights, which are going into place. You have the newer crosswalks, for example, which will help cars navigate the road. New turning lanes, things like that. We want to make Cameron Street brighter. That's where the city comes into play, as Percy mentioned. And putting in brighter streetlights, we hope, is one thing that will make Cameron Street brighter and easier to access and make it safer for bicyclists and motorists as well.
We don't know. Yeah, it's still under investigation, so we don't know. We know it was at 6:15 at night, so obviously it was dark. In response to your question about the bike lanes, the injuries and fatalities that we've had along this corridor have not been just from the normal bicyclists riding up and down this road. It involves crossing. So that's something that would be more of a priority is trying to focus on the crossing. But the other thing I want to point out is what we're doing is not a response to the fatalities at all. What we are doing has been in the planning for years now, and it is because of the 83 project and the expected amount of traffic that will come down on Cameron Street. But obviously, we take into consideration a lot of things with that, and pedestrian safety and bicyclist safety is part of that. But I want to stress this is not in response to these last several fatalities. Not in response. They have been in the planning stages for a long time.
Since 2017.
2017, yeah.
A road diet is incredibly difficult to do along Cameron Street because it is the city's main industrial artery. It is the only road that can accommodate the amount of trucks that you have here. And when 83 goes into full construction mode and we expect a lot of traffic to divert off of 83 using Cameron Street to cut over to 81, that's going to increase the amount of traffic. So when you take a road diet and you shrink the road to make it slower, yeah, that works on 2nd Street, which is more residential. It works in other parts of the city, but Cameron Street is the one road in the city that you really need to be able to accommodate the amount of industrial traffic that it has. I think it's safe to say that there's going to be more traffic along Cameron Street, and that's exactly why these improvements are going into place. That's why there's going to be more new street lights. That's why there's going to be extended pedestrian time in crosswalks. It's why the whole road is going to be repaved to enhance the driving. The intersection here, though. Correct?
Yeah,
Yes. Sorry. No, my apologies. My apologies. The intersection here, and you can see on the diagram the areas that are going to be repaved as well. So yeah, because of the fact that there are going to be more vehicles along Cameron Street, this is basically ahead of. We're doing this as a response to, I guess, preliminarily expecting what is going to be an increase in traffic.